so I want to start off by saying congratulations. Blackish is ending its run as one of the most successful and impactful shows to ever air on television. How does it feel to be wrapping things up?
It's kind of mixed emotions in a lot of ways because I'd say like, we stopped production shooting in November before we started even airing these. And so like there's almost a little nostalgia in it now where I sit there and I go like, oh my God, yeah, I remember. It was and so like so much of it is very personal. Like I say a lot that you don't get a lot of 8-year runs in your career. And I was lucky to be able to spend 8 years of my career with these people making this show. So there's a lot of gratitude in how I'm feeling right now. There's a lot of excitement. I'm excited for people to see how we wrap things up. And so, it's just, and like I'd say during the November when we were finishing up, there was it was very bittersweet, because you knew that something was ending that no matter what good things came next in your career, that it would be different than this, so there's that.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And you know what? I want you to kind of take me back to the beginning of your career. I know you worked on
Okay.
shows such as Arrested Development, Cleveland Show, a few classics. So can
Yeah.
you tell me a bit about those experiences that brought you to where you are today?
I mean, I'm lucky. I played sports growing up, so like uh you only get good if you're with good people, and like and Arrested Development was one of those shows. There were 8 full-time writers in the room, and Jim Vallely, who would be part-time because he was on another show at least the first season, and everybody was incredibly funny, incredibly talented, and I was the worst at it. And I mean, like, not even joking, not even being like hyperbolic, I was the worst in the room. And I knew but I took that experience and it allowed me to know what I needed to do to get to be at that level. Like I needed to be as funny as those people. I needed to be able to tell a story. I needed to have a vision in the same kind of way. And it was great. It was motivational, And so like I learned so much for they like it was a bigger deal for me than I'm sure for them. For them it's just like, okay, there's this guy, but for me I grew a ton as a writer. And then throughout my career working with great amazing people on shows like the Cleveland Show was funny, like because working on a cartoon you're writing jokes all the time and really getting more skilled at that skill set. And for me, anything that you really want to do, anything that you value, anything that you want to spend your days investing in, you should try to be the best at it as possible. And that requires a lot of practice and patience. You see what ends up on the screen, but it's not just like with an athlete, it's not the thing that ends up on the screen. It's all the work you do before that. I compare it to like the training montages you see in movies. You're watching The Karate Kid, it's all the wax on, wax off, all that other kind of stuff. Like you see at this point, it's just like, hey, you got here. But I did so much work to get here, writing jokes so much on my own, at night, jokes nobody will ever hear, I won't remember, all that other kind of stuff, reading, watching stories, getting a sense of what's going on. And so like, I look at like where I am at this point in my career as one long training montage, and knowing if I want to go to other places that I got to keep at the grind.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's a long grind, like
Yeah.
they say. So when you first heard about Blackish, what did you think about the idea for the show?
Oh, it's funny. I've known Kenya for so many years, like, and so the show is, I guess, like this time 8 years ago, is getting picked up. I sent him a text. I was just like, "Hey, man, congratulations on the show," And I didn't know much about it just because I wasn't, I worked on it the first season, but I didn't start right away. I joined in around Labor Day, so I was excited to be a part of the team when the opportunity came, but like I was just, I was excited for my friend, and then the show starts going and Larry Wilmore leaves to go do his nighttime talk show, and Kenny gives me a call. He's like, "Hey, are you available? We need somebody new to help come in." And so I came in and was like among many, many, many talented writers: Yvette Lee Bowser, Jonathan Groff, Gail Lerner, Vijay Patel, Corey Nickerson. It's just like, David Hemmingson, Kenya. There's just like a ton of experienced, super talented writers. So like I was just a person there with the rest of the team. And it's right before the series is about to air for the first time. Everybody's nervous. They've been working on this thing, creating it, believing in it. And me as an outsider, I'm watching the episodes. I'm like, yeah, you guys are good. It's good. You know, I just felt good. It was good. It was a very funny show. And Anthony is somebody I had worked with before on another show. So like I knew he was gonna be funny. And so like it was for me, I was like just blessed to be in that situation where, you know, I was sitting around looking, I'm like, these are all very good writers. These are all very good actors. This is a very good show. I might stick around, you know?
So I kind of want to do a bit of a comparison here. Since
Yeah,
you've been in the writer's room for so long, like you said, 8 years, that's kind of crazy.
yeah,
Can you compare the writer's room to from when you first started to the
yeah.
writer's room when you ended and wrapped in November?
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, you know, it's like the business has changed so much in the 8 years. That's 90% of what it was. You know, in 2014, you know, working on a network show was how you grew your career. A comedy like that, that were you were just trying to, you know, make sure you stayed and like it's you get paid by the episode. So doing 22, 24 episodes, there's more money. The whole thing was more kind of crucial and important to be involved in something like that then. And now, like, it's funny when we wrapped, you know, it was a lot of people who were younger writers who came up in a different era where they had development of their own on the side. That you expected shorter orders, all that other kind of stuff. And you know, so and also just for me as somebody who had aged through the process, when we started, I was in my, you know, late 30s, and I was like in the middle. Everybody was kind of around the same age, and it was like this group of people with like a lot of experience. And then slowly over the 8 years, I realized, oh, I'm the oldest person here. This is by a lot. They all know. And when I say like, and they're all very talented, it was great. Talent was talent. It was really good. But it was also like all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, my references are more dated than this room really cares to hear about. So that was a lot of it. That was a lot of it, and just being in the chair as the boss. But you know, we've been really lucky, and I think starting off with incredibly talented staff and starting off with a show that like hit so quickly allowed us to maintain having a really really talented staff, you know, and so we did that for 8 years. I'm lucky to have worked with every writer I work with, and there were, you know, there were a lot of them. So
And you know, with 8 years in the writer's room, I'm sure that there have been hundreds, probably even thousands of ideas that have, you know, bounced around the walls. Can you tell me some of the, you know, craziest ideas that maybe never made it to screen and kind of stayed in the writer's room?
there's only one that really, you know, we were really lucky in that everything we wanted to do, like we always got approval, and like nobody ever tried to get in our way. It was not like this is too crazy. We never got like notes on story or were told we shouldn't do something. There was one we wanted to do a couple years ago, 2019, before the pandemic, you know, about in a kind of observation or, you know, observance, I guess, of the 400th year anniversary of the beginning of the slave trade. We
Mhm.
wanted to shoot 2 episodes in Ghana, you know, and
Wow.
you know, and to the credit of the network and the studio, they were all gung ho about it. And we tried to figure out, you know, Ghana doesn't have much of a film industry. So we tried to figure out if we can get crews from South Africa. We were trying to
Mhm.
figure this whole thing out. And eventually never ended up happening, following through. We talked about doing it later, pandemic, just never got to be something we could do. But yeah, and so like it that's the one that like kind of got away in a way, and we had two really good stories for it. But yeah, it's we were lucky. We got to, you know, we never left a lot on on the table. You know, we got to kind of do it all.
Yeah, and that's a blessing. And you know, I kind of
Yeah,
want to take you back a bit, just one more time.
yeah,
Tell me,
yeah.
what was your favorite episode to work on? Which one resonated the most with you?
I would say, and it's hard because it's so new and so fresh, even if it's been months since it's over, and everything's so personal to me. I, it's all about working relationships too. You know, so like there's a moment that I always think about. There's a director, Anton Cropper. He directed our finale. He's a great director, um, and it was just like we had to get a stunt done in a certain amount of time, and we ended up getting it done, getting it in the can, moving on to the next location. It was one of those moments like, again, like I said, I played sports where like the whole play comes together, right? Everybody did everything perfectly. And you're just walking out of there and you're kind of giving each other high fives. And there was moments like that across several different episodes and moments and people and stuff, and this was an episode where, where Jennifer Lewis's character pretends that she's losing her memory and crashes a car into the garage and all that other kind of stuff. And it worked out great. Those are the things I take away as much as anything. And those are my favorite moments from what we worked on, was that kind of like camaraderie and the collaborative nature of everything and the people.
In season 6, your role got up to showrunner. Can you talk a bit about the direction that you wanted to take the show when your role got up?
But for me, it was mostly just like, oh God, I hope I have enough ideas. That's really what it was. So, I mean, that was the year we pitched the Ghana thing. And I was just trying to, and I was new to learning the full responsibilities of the job. And I was lucky to have people around who supported me, who would work with me, who are invested in my success. So, I don't think I went in with like, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's how it's going to work. But I think I was allowed to evolve into becoming good at the job by the support the other people had around me. And so, again, at first it was just like, please, God, let us have a premiere that doesn't suck. That's what it was, and we got one. We got one that was really good. And then once you're in it, then you're in familiar territory. It's like, okay, how do you tell a story? What do you want to say? What are you doing? But like the vision of it, it was just like, if I'm sitting there and like struggling to be able to convey what I want to do to people, to the other writers, then it puts me in a place of where I'm behind the 8 ball. And so luckily, because I was so supported, we were able to get through it pretty quickly.
Being a part of the show for so long, and you've kind of almost grown up with a few of the actors on the show in a sense.
Yeah.
So I specifically want to talk about Marsai Martin and Miles Brown, because when they were introduced on the show, they were only 10 years old.
Yep.
Now they are 17. What has it been like working with the two of them, from literally kids to young adults now?
People don't understand how talented they are. Because if you do this long enough, there's like that things, it's like, you never work with like, kids and animals or shoot on water and all these other things that are like things you avoid. And when they were cast and you watch the early seasons, they're cute kids and they do cute kid things. And Marseille is just like, giving you like great face, and she's doing all this other kind of stuff. But it's like, pearl clutching and all those kind of things. When a 10-year-old does it who looks like she's 7, it's hilarious, right? That's not as funny when you're 17. You can't keep that up. So the growth that they had as actors to be able to evolve from just cute, precocious kids to the actors that they become is extraordinary. And it was a gift to be able to be around it and to be able to see how talented they are. And as a writer and as a showrunner, when you talk about like the shows and the stories you want to be able to tell, we could tell any story because we had 2 teenage actors who were talented enough to carry the water for it, And so like, literally Junior and Zoe as characters, when they were introduced, were late into their high school kind of experience.
Right.
So we actually got fresh ground to kind of cover with them being middle schoolers into high school and that transition part of life. It was, we didn't have to hide them. We didn't have to sit there, and there wasn't one that was like, oh, you know what, one of them's way better than the other. We don't have to do that. They're both so talented. And on top of that, just really good kids from really good families, easy to work with. It was really special, really special.
So, 4 Emmy nominations, 4 NAACP awards, and a Peabody.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have worked on a show that has clearly resonated with so many people?
It's so funny. I'm a twin. And so there's a little bit of like, when people ask the question of like, what's it like to be a twin? And I'm just like, I don't know. That's what it is. That's what I'm used to. And I would say it's a little bit like that with this, because I'm like, if I was like Dave Chappelle in a stand-up, and then it'd be like, well, what's it like? And it's like, well, I can't go to the airport because I get mobbed everywhere. Like, everything's so anonymous. Like, and when you say that, I'm like, I guess we did do all that, but I still, it doesn't really, interactions daily, it doesn't really come up. I'll say the nice thing about it, what it really does, what is like, I don't have to go to, sometimes when you work on a show, you're like, oh, I work on such and such a show. They're like, oh, you're a TV writer. What show do you write for? Oh, I work on such and such a show. It's on such and such a network. It's this thing. You have to feel like you explain it all the time. I don't have to do that. The thing is, I can actually go, and my mother doesn't have to do that. She can just go to church and tell everybody that her son works on Blackish, and they can all be proud and understand it. So that's the biggest hit to me, is that I don't have to make my mother explain the TV guide to a bunch of septuagenarians at her church.
And I kind of want to switch gears here. Grownish was just renewed for a fifth season, and it was announced that you'll be the co-showrunner of the series.
Yep.
With Marcus Scribner being added to the cast, can you talk a bit about the direction you intend to take the series now?
Well, it's funny. There's a woman, Zakia Alexander, who we brought in to really be a lot of the creative vision for it, who's running it with me. And, she came up with an amazing pitch really beginning of last summer, to get this whole thing underway. And we're excited. There's going to be new faces, there's going to be some of the old faces, and really to examine the college experience, the contemporary college experience, whereas we've done so much over the last 4 years from a predominantly female point of view through Zoe, to be able to add in a more male point of view too with Junior. And, we're a couple weeks into shooting, and so far so good,
And lastly, tell me what you want to leave everyone with. What are some projects that maybe you're working on the side that you're excited about?
Oh, here's what I want to, I'm excited that people are continually watching these shows. I'm excited that I can continue to pay my bills. I'm excited that once Grownish is done, I will be able to go on a vacation for the first time in 2 or 3 years. That's it. Literally, I need to get Grownish in the rearview mirror, get a little bit of space before I can be excited about anything else. That's basically it,
I completely understand. And thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Oh, thank you, Peyton. It's been really nice.